I don't know who needs to hear this, but you better listen close, real close, because this ain't just a question. It's a wake-up call. See, some folks are out here circling dates on calendars like they got heaven's schedule in their back pocket. 2025, they whisper, could it be? They checking signs, prophecies, blood moons, earthquakes, piecing together puzzles like they're cracking some divine code. But let me tell you something. The question ain't, is he coming? The question is, are you ready if he does? Because if Jesus comes back in 2025, or tonight, or tomorrow morning at 6:17 a.m., what are you going to be caught doing? That's the line that cuts through all the noise. Because for years, decades even, we've seen people try to play spiritual detectives, flipping through scripture like it's a code book, circling world events like they're pieces of a divine puzzle. Every war, every disaster, every headline becomes a clue. This is it, they say. It's coming soon. And maybe they're right. But maybe that's not the point. See, the problem with constantly trying to predict the return of Jesus is that it shifts the focus away from the life he called us to live. It becomes about being correct instead of being committed. It becomes about timelines instead of transformation, and that was never the mission. Jesus didn't say, guess the date I'm coming back. He said, be ready. There's a big difference between watching the skies and watching your heart. People get caught up in signs. They want formulas, they want certainty. But that's not faith. That's control. That's comfort disguised as spiritual curiosity. When you're constantly predicting, you're trying to bring mystery down to your level, trying to make the unknown feel manageable. But God didn't ask us to manage the unknown. He asked us to trust Him through it. That kind of trust doesn't need a countdown. It doesn't need headlines to stir urgency. True trust says, even if He doesn't come back for another 100 years, I'm still living like He could come back tonight. That's preparation. That's what faith looks like when it walks and breathes and bleeds. When you're preparing, your mindset changes. You stop looking at the world as a series of clues and start looking at your life as a testimony. You start asking better questions, like, am I loving people well? Or am I walking in obedience when nobody's watching? Or am I building the kingdom here and now, or just talking about heaven like it's some distant escape route? Jesus is not interested in a bunch of well-informed spectators. He's looking for servants, for laborers in the field, for people who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty in the work of grace and justice and love. And you can't do that if you're too busy staring at the clouds. Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with studying the Word. There's nothing wrong with knowing the signs. But when your obsession with the signs becomes a distraction from your assignment, you've lost the plot. It's like packing for a trip and never actually leaving the house. You've got your bag, your passport, your itinerary, but you're still sitting on the couch, talking about how ready you are. Preparation is more than knowing. Preparation is moving. It's acting. It's living. Think about the parable Jesus told, the one about the 10 virgins. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. They were all waiting for the bridegroom, all expecting his arrival. But only 5 brought extra oil. Only 5 were truly ready when he came. The others weren't wicked. They weren't rebels. They were just unprepared, and they missed it. That parable wasn't about predicting a time. It was about staying filled, staying alert, staying ready. It was about what you do with the time you have. You can be looking at the sky and still miss the moment if your lamp runs dry. And in today's world, with all the distractions, all the noise, all the temptation to perform instead of prepare, it's easy to run dry. See, preparation is quiet work. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It happens in the early mornings and the late nights, in the little choices nobody sees. It's integrity. It's discipline. It's forgiving when you don't feel like it. It's choosing humility over applause. It's loving people who don't love you back. It's choosing character over comfort, purpose over popularity. That's the stuff that builds oil in your lamp. That's the stuff that keeps you ready. And sometimes the folks who talk the most about Jesus coming back are the least ready to meet him, because they're so focused on being in the know, they've neglected the call to be faithful. But when he comes, he's not checking charts or timelines. He's looking at hearts. He's looking for people who didn't just say his name, but lived his word. People who fed the hungry, visited the sick, clothed the naked. People who were willing to lose status for the sake of truth. That's preparation. That's what readiness looks like in the kingdom. And preparation doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean having it all together. It means living in a posture of surrender, staying in alignment with God's heart, not just his calendar. Because the truth is, you can be a mess and still be preparing. You can still be on the journey, still struggling through your doubts and your flaws. But if your heart is turned toward him, if your life is facing his direction, you're doing it right. But if all you're doing is chasing dates, you're just a spectator in a stadium that's meant to be a battleground. You're meant to suit up to get in the game, to fight the good fight. That takes preparation. It takes daily dying to self. It takes honesty. It takes grace. And grace is not passive. Grace is power. Grace is what helps you keep going when the world tells you to quit. Grace is the oil that keeps your lamp burning. So when people ask, do you think Jesus is coming back in 2025? You can look them in the eye and say, maybe. But whether it's 2025 or today, I'm getting my heart ready. Because the point isn't the prediction. The point is the posture. And that posture should look like faith in action. Not guessing games, not fear, not panic. But peace, surrender, purpose. The kind of preparation that says, I may not know the day or the hour, but I know the mission. And I'm living like I've already seen the face of the one who's coming. That's the mindset that flips everything. It takes the gospel from something we talk about on Sundays to something we live every moment. See, the idea that Jesus could return at any time isn't supposed to scare us, it's supposed to sharpen us. It's not a threat, it's a call to real life, the kind that's alert, intentional, and anchored in eternity. Most people live like time is guaranteed. They make plans, set goals, chase dreams, but they do it with a false sense of ownership over tomorrow. Like the breath in their lungs belongs to them. But if Jesus really could show up today, if this moment was your last chance to get it right, what would you do differently? Would you forgive that person you've been holding a grudge against? Would you finally tell someone the truth? Would you pray like it actually mattered? That's the kind of urgency the gospel invites us into. Not panic, not pressure, but purpose. Living like he's coming back today means every decision matters. It means there's no such thing as just another day. It means you're not waiting for the right conditions to do what's right. You're doing it now. You're choosing character over convenience. You're giving when it's uncomfortable. You're speaking life when it's easier to stay silent. You're living with a sense of holy urgency, not because you're afraid of missing heaven, but because you don't want to miss the chance to reflect heaven right here, right now. It changes how you handle conflict. When you remember Jesus could return at any moment, you start making peace quicker. You stop letting bitterness sit in your spirit like poison. You stop needing to win arguments and start wanting to win people. Because at the end of the day, pride won't matter in his presence. Only love will. And love doesn't keep score. Love doesn't wait until next week to say, I'm sorry. Love makes the move now. It also shifts how you treat people. If today is all you have, you don't waste time judging someone's journey. You offer grace. You don't ignore the person next to you on the bus, at the job, in the grocery store. You recognize that every soul you encounter is someone Jesus died for. You live on mission, even in the mundane, because everything becomes sacred when you realize you might be the only glimpse of Christ someone ever sees. Living like He's coming back today means your faith becomes visible. It stops being something you keep in your back pocket and starts being something you wear on your sleeve. People have to guess what you believe. Your life tells the story. Your patience tells it. Your generosity tells it. Your peace in chaos tells it. Your joy in struggle tells it. You become a living sermon, not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. Consistently surrendered. Consistently growing. Consistently choosing light in a world that loves the dark. You also stop wasting time trying to impress people who don't even hold your future. You realize the only applause that matters is the kind that comes from heaven. So you stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop living for likes, validation, or approval. You start showing up as your whole honest self, flawed but faithful, because you know the King isn't coming back for a filtered version of you. He's coming back for the real you, the one who stayed the course even when it was hard. And this mindset, it keeps you from drifting, because it's easy to lose focus in a world that's always distracting you. Easy to get caught up in stuff that doesn't last. But when you live like He's coming back today, you start investing in what matters. You guard your time. You protect your peace. You say no to things that don't align with your calling, not out of fear, but out of focus. You realize your life is a gift, and you refuse to waste it chasing what won't satisfy. It also creates a deep kind of humility, because if He were to return right now, it wouldn't be your resume that saves you. It wouldn't be your success, your status, your reputation. It would be grace. Undeserved, unlimited, undeniable grace. And when you really grasp that, you stop acting like you earned your place in the kingdom. You start living like someone who's been rescued. And rescuers don't brag, they reach. They serve, they lift others up. They live with open hands and open hearts. Living like He's coming back today means you keep your spirit awake. You don't let yourself grow numb. You don't ignore conviction when it knocks on your heart. You pay attention. You repent quickly. You obey the whisper before it becomes a shout. You make space for God every day, not just when things fall apart. You prioritize prayer, not because it's a ritual, but because it's your lifeline. You stay in the Word, not out of obligation, but because it's the only thing that reminds you who you are when the world keeps trying to tell you otherwise. And even when the days feel ordinary, you walk in them with extraordinary purpose. You understand that eternity could break into time at any second. So you love deeply, you serve joyfully, you show up fully, because you know the return of Christ isn't just about escape, it's about fulfillment. He's not coming to take us away from life, He's coming to complete it, to make all things new. And until then, we get to be part of the renewal. So this mindset, it's not heavy, it's holy. It's not stressful, it's sacred. It's a daily choice to live with your eyes fixed on what lasts. It's living every moment like it counts. Like today is the day you'll see Him face to face, and you want to be found faithful. You want to be caught loving, caught serving, caught believing. Not caught off guard, but caught in the act of worship with your life. That's a truth that cuts deeper than predictions ever will. In a world obsessed with timelines and prophecies, with debates about end times charts and which global event signals what, there's something far more important that often gets lost in the noise: faithfulness. Not the flashy kind, not the public kind, but the steady behind the scenes daily commitment to walk with God no matter what's happening in the headline. Because at the end of the day, Jesus isn't coming back for the most informed, He's coming back for the most faithful. The disciples once asked Jesus for signs. They wanted to know when the end would come. They wanted the timeline. But instead of giving them a date, He gave them instructions. Stay awake, stay ready. Keep doing what I told you. That wasn't avoidance, that was priority. Because He knew that when people focus too much on forecasts, they stop focusing on faithfulness. They start waiting instead of working, watching the skies instead of walking the path. And the kingdom was never about passive observation, it was always about active obedience. Being faithful means showing up for God when it's inconvenient, when nobody's clapping, when no one's watching. It means living the word when it would be easier to compromise. It means praying when the answers don't come quickly, serving when it costs you something, giving when it hurts, loving when it's not returned. Faithfulness isn't proven in the big dramatic moments, it's proven in the quiet ones, the daily decisions, the consistent yes to God, even when your feelings say no. People who are chasing forecasts want to know when Jesus is coming. People who are chasing faithfulness want to know how they can serve until He does. There's a difference. Forecasts produce spectators. Faithfulness produces disciples. And God isn't calling us to be spiritual meteorologists. He's calling us to be workers in His field. The fruit isn't found in the predictions. The fruit is found in the harvest. And the harvest takes sweat. It takes effort. It takes showing up day after day. Whether the sky is blue or dark with cloud. Faithfulness looks like building when you don't see results. Like Noah, who spent years constructing a giant ark while people laughed and doubted. He wasn't tracking weather patterns, he was obeying God. He didn't have all the details, but he had the word, and that was enough. Sometimes faithfulness means working in silence, trusting that what God said will eventually show itself, that even if nobody claps now, heaven sees, even if no one understands. Obedience is its own reward. Forecasts can stir fear, but faithfulness brings peace. When you're faithful, you're not shaken by rumors or theories. You don't panic when the world shifts, you stay grounded, anchored, because your eyes aren't fixed on the news, they're fixed on the cross. You know the one who holds the future, so you don't need to predict it. You just keep walking with Him, one step at a time, trusting that wherever He leads, He's already gone before you. There's something powerful about the faithful life. It's not loud, but it's loud in heaven. It doesn't trend, but it touches eternity. And one of the most beautiful things about faithfulness is that it's not about perfection, it's about direction. It's about returning to God again and again, even when you stumble. It's about staying in the fight when you feel like quitting. It's about trusting that small acts of obedience matter, even if they're never recognized by the world. Forecasts come and go. Predictions rise and fall. But faithfulness stands. Faithfulness endures. When the excitement wears off, when the emotions fade, when the world gets darker, faithfulness keeps the flame alive. Like a lighthouse in the middle of a storm. It doesn't move with the wind, it doesn't change with the seasons, it just keeps shining. Jesus told a parable about a master who went away and left his servants in charge. Some got lazy, some got distracted, but one of them stayed faithful. Kept doing the work, kept watching, kept honoring what was entrusted to him. When the master came back, it wasn't the servant who knew the exact time that was rewarded. It was the one who had been faithful the whole time. That parable still speaks today. God is looking for hearts that are dependable, hands that are willing, lives that are surrendered. And the thing about faithfulness is that it can't be faked. It's revealed over time. It's proven through fire. Anybody can be faithful when it's easy, but what about when the prayers go unanswered? What about when doors close? What about when you serve and no one notices? That's where true faithfulness is born. In the wilderness, in the waiting, in the places where you keep showing up even when you feel unseen. Forecasts feed the mind. Faithfulness feeds the soul. Forecasts change with every new event. Faithfulness doesn't flinch. Because it's rooted in a relationship, not a report. It's built on trust, not on trends. And that's why it matters more than any prediction ever will. Because when the world grows uncertain, when the ground starts shaking, the faithful don't run. They remain. They stand. They lift others up. They speak life into chaos. They become the steady hands of God in an unsteady world. The people who will be ready when Jesus returns aren't the ones who cracked the code, they're the ones who carried the cross. The ones who loved their neighbors, who fought for justice, who forgave their enemies, who kept their hearts clean and their hands open. The ones who said yes to God again and again, no matter what it cost them. The ones who didn't just believe, they lived like they believed. Faithfulness matters more than forecasts because it changes you. It forms your character, it deepens your roots, it prepares you not just for the return of Christ, but for the life He's called you to live right now. It reminds you that what you do today matters, that your obedience today is shaping your eternity, that showing up for God, even in the ordinary moments, is the very thing that prepares you for the extraordinary ones. And while others are out there chasing signs, you're becoming one. You become the evidence of God's kingdom on earth, a walking, breathing reminder that faithfulness still matters, that holiness still matters, that hope still burns bright, even in a world trying to snuff it out. You don't need to shout about the end times when your life is already preaching about eternity. When your love reflects His love, when your endurance reflects His grace, when your faithfulness reflects His heart. So when it's all said and done, when the questions quiet down and the debates lose their shine, the truth still stands. The return of Jesus isn't about getting the date right, it's about getting your heart right. It's about living with a sense of holy urgency, not because you're afraid, but because you're awake. Awake to the reality that this life is short, that every moment matters, and that eternity is not just some distant hope, it's a present responsibility. The question is, Jesus coming back in 2025 may stir up curiosity, may even shake some folks up, but the deeper question is, are you living like He's coming back at all? Because if you truly believe He is, then your life should be a loud, undeniable yes to His will every single day. There are people who will spend the rest of their lives chasing signs, analyzing news cycles, dissecting prophecies like puzzle pieces. They'll hold conferences, write books, stir fear, stir hype, but not transformation. But then there are others, quiet ones, faithful ones, the ones who may not have all the theological jargon, but they're doing the work. They're praying in secret. They're giving in silence. They're forgiving when it hurts. They're standing for truth when it costs them. They're not trying to crack God's calendar. They're trying to live ready, heart and soul aligned with heaven. And that's the call. Stop predicting, start preparing. Live like He's coming back today. Understand that faithfulness matters more than forecasts. Because you're not just waiting for a moment, you're becoming someone. Someone who reflects the light of Christ in a dark world. Someone who walks with bold humility, who loves without condition, who serves without needing recognition. That's the kind of person the world needs. That's the kind of person Jesus is coming back for. If He showed up right now, what would He find? Would He find a people ready? Not just informed, not just religious, not just curious, but ready? Would He find lives that mirror His heart, that echo His love, that carry His mission forward no matter what the culture says? Would He find you not just watching the clock, but watching over the broken, the lost, the hungry, the forgotten? Because that's what readiness really looks like. Readiness doesn't mean you've figured everything out. It doesn't mean you've lived a spotless life. It means you've been faithful with what you were given. It means you're still standing when it would have been easier to quit. It means you kept loving, kept praying, kept forgiving, kept serving, because your hope wasn't in a date, but in a Savior. And when your hope is in Him, you don't panic when the world shakes. You plant your feet deeper in the rock that won't move. So, don't get distracted by the noise. Don't let the chaos of the times pull you away from the clarity of your calling. You were never called to be a spectator. You were never called to sit on the sidelines waiting for the skies to split. You were called to occupy until he comes, to build until he returns, to live in such a way that if today were the day, you'd have no regrets, not because you lived perfectly, but because you lived fully surrendered. Let the world speculate. Let them argue. You stay faithful. Stay focused. Let your light shine bright and let your love be loud. Let your life be the kind of sermon that doesn't need a microphone. Let your daily choices preach louder than any end times theory. Because there's power in consistency. There's power in obedience. There's power in showing up for God and his people again and again, rain or shine, fire or favor. You don't have to fear the future when your heart is fixed on eternity. You don't have to chase timelines when you're walking in God's time. And you don't need to know the day or the hour when you know the one who holds both. He didn't ask you to predict. He asked you to be ready. He didn't say, figure it out. He said, follow me. He didn't call you to live in fear. He called you to live in faith. And faith is not passive. Faith builds. Faith moves. Faith obeys. Faith sacrifices. Faith endures. So live with that kind of faith. The kind that burns even when no one else is lighting a fire. The kind that says, I may not know when, but I know who. I know who. I know what he's done for me, and that's enough to keep going. When Jesus returns, whenever that may be, he's not coming back for the best guessers. He's coming back for the best lovers, the ones who lived the gospel, not just studied it. The ones who became answers to prayers, the ones who carried peace into chaos, the ones who weren't perfect, but who were presently, faithfully present in the mission of God on earth. So maybe he's coming back in 2025, maybe he's coming back tonight, maybe it's not for another 100 years, but the timing doesn't change the task. The hour doesn't change the heart. What matters is what you're doing with the time you have. Are you building? Are you sowing? Are you healing? Are you forgiving? Are you walking in love when the world is drowning in hate? This is not the time to coast. This is not the time to get comfortable. This is not the time to fall asleep at the wheel of your calling. This is the time to rise, to recommit, to fan the flame, to live holy, to lead boldly, to give generously, to stay ready. Because every moment you spend walking in truth, walking in purpose, walking in obedience, that's a moment spent preparing not just for his return, but for his reward. Don't just ask, is Jesus coming back in 2025? Ask, am I living like I belong to him now? Because if your answer is yes, then whether he comes in 2025 or not at all in your lifetime, you'll still hear those words we all long for. Well done, good and faithful servant. Not well guessed, not well predicted, not well informed. Well done, well lived, well loved. Because in the end, that's what it's about. Not the forecast, but the faithfulness. Not the countdown, but the calling. Not the noise, but the name above every name. Jesus. The one who is, who was, and who is to come. What will he find in your hands, in your heart? Who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you when the spotlight's off? When you ain't holding a mic or dressed in your Sunday best? We spend so much time trying to predict the arrival that we forget the assignment. Jesus didn't ask us to guess his return. He asked us to live like he could walk through that door any second. You feel that? This ain't about fear. This is about faith. It's about being real. It's about walking the talk. Because if you're just playing church, if you're just checking the religious box, then let me tell you, 2025 ain't your concern. Your concern is that your soul's on autopilot, cruising down a road marked comfortable, but headed straight for conviction. Let me remind you, he already gave us the signs. He already gave us the word. He already gave us the cross. And if that's not enough to turn your heart toward him, I don't know what is. So Yeah, maybe he's coming in 2025. Maybe he's not. But the point is, we don't get ready when he shows up. We stay ready. So the real question today ain't, is Jesus coming back in 2025? The real question is, will you be standing faithful and found when he does? Because whether it's 2025 or 5 minutes from now, he's coming. And when he does, you won't need a calendar to know it.